The indomitable John Marrone is here, and he's going to share his 6-point strategy for lead conversion. So, my friend, if you don't mind, could we please bring on John Marrone? John, are you there? Hey, bud.
Woo, what's going on, man? How are we doing?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Beautiful Destin, Florida. I have a thunderstorm rolling in, but man, I'm here to absolutely give as much value as we can to change some lives.
I'm very jealous. My family went to Galveston, not quite the same beach as Destin, let's just say.
Well, I know you guys got a lot of good stuff coming up. Have a great conversation. I'll see you in just a bit.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, my friend. So, John, for the folks not familiar with you, first let's start by just sharing a little bit about you, your background, and how you came to this conversation today.
Yeah, so if we talked about the entire background, it's going to take up all the time. So I would be very short with it. Humble beginnings, to say the least, right? There was definitely a lot of challenges in my life growing up, and a lot of it was, as I look back on it, my fault, right? It was a lot of my decisions, my thought process, really my identity I put on myself. And I found a lot of struggle within that. But fortunate enough, I got around some really good people that helped me really develop the understanding of who I needed to become, right? Like I loved your quote before, right? Like everything I had during those moments was great for everything I did, right? And I realized that to get more, I got to become a little bit different, right? And so fortunate enough, getting around those people, they really plugged into me. Then I took it to the next level and plugged into as many people as I can, the movers and shakers of the world, to really figure out what people are doing to live a super high quality life, right? High quality relationship, high quality health, high quality businesses. And from that really devotion to committing myself to that, we've been able to build some beautiful things. Right. Starting off with our coaching company where, we've trained over 14,000 agents over the last 7 years between coaching, training, and then speaking as well. So we got that side of it where we do have the highest conversion rate in the industry.
Yeah, you had mentioned that the other day on our call. Would you please share that number with folks? Because we're going to get into why that number is what it is, but let's start with what that number is.
Yeah, absolutely. So the national average from a lead that comes into your system, right? An online lead, however you generate it, that goes from contact to appointment set is usually under 5%. And so we've created a method that over the last 7 years, we've been able to go from contact to appointment set with 14,000 agents or so, 33%, which is absolutely amazing. And there's a lot of key components we're going to go into today on why we do that. I think the big thing also is that, we've been able to develop this strategy and make these small tweaks, right? We call them making these small changes, small hinges, open big doors. And we've been able to do that. And that right there has been able to provide people, no matter what market you're in, no matter how the market looks, an absolute understanding of what needs to get done, how to do it, and create scalability in business. So very fortunate enough to be able to do that. We own other companies as well. And just being able to provide tools and solutions into the market where people feel like that there's no hope possibly, or they're really struggling, and being able to create that ripple effect like others did for me. That's the biggest piece that I love about it, right? I love seeing them convert, but I love seeing their lives change.
Well, and that's so gracious of you to come on and share this. By the way, for those of you at home, grab your pen, grab your paper. I mean it. You're going to want that. So you started by talking about that sort of mindset, and that's really the sort of first step. And James Clear in Atomic Habits, he talked about the idea that most people start with an outcome-based goal, then move to process, and then identity. And what he said was, no, that's absolutely wrong. Start with the identity, who you want to become. And this is an echo of Stephen Covey's be, do, have, right? In your 6-point conversion process starts with mindset. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of us, you said it before, we're scared to get on the phone, right? We're scared of what's on the other end. And so there's definitely different elements of mindset that we got to work on. But the 3 biggest components is I think there's a fear around the phone. And maybe that's a fear because somebody hung up on you once before, and psychologically it has really put you in a place where you think everybody's going to hang up, or I don't want to annoy people because I annoyed one person. And what we always talk about is if there is fear, that is simply the beacon of light of what you need to work through most, right? I think we all would raise our hand and say, I want to be a person of courage. Like I want somebody, when they think about me, think of somebody of courage. What we don't understand is that we are given courage only through fear. See, fear is showing up so we can activate courage. So when you have that moment of, oh my God, I'm so scared, realize that is nothing but a beacon of light of what you need to work through most, and understanding that's tapping into the courage that we've asked for, right? And the second element to that is we need to stop attaching ourselves to the outcome and only the activity that gets the outcome. And the reason why is because if we attach ourselves to, I need to set 2 appointments, and we don't, because there are days that happens, we then start to feel guilty, shameful, and we create this pattern. And now we're scared to get on the phone because we don't want to have that negative outcome. But if I said to you, the outcome doesn't matter, only what you do to get that outcome matters, you're going to do the work more often. And the byproduct, obviously, is going to be the outcome. And the last piece of this is keeping your promises. Outside of real estate, what you do outside of it means so much of what you do inside of it. And let me tell you what I mean here. So a lot of us, we say we're a man or woman of our word. But the reality is we're not. Maybe to others, but not to ourselves. So until we can start keeping a word to ourselves, waking up at the time you said you wanted to wake up, getting to the gym like you said you wanted to, making the dials like you said you wanted to, all these things, right? That's when we can really say, I am a man or woman of my word at a very deep, deep level, therefore committing to be able to be a word to somebody else. So I think the biggest pieces of mindset is stop attaching yourself to the outcome. Allow yourself the understanding that what we do outside of our business, keeping our promises to ourselves, is one of the most powerful things that can help grow our business. And then number 3, realizing the fear of picking up the phone is literally shining a beacon of light of what you need to work through most. And it's activating the characteristic of courage, which in the end, we all do want.
Yeah, I love that. In Fast Cap, we talk about this idea that discipline is the highest form of self-love. Yes. Right? Following through on those promises that you make to yourself. Because if you're breaking your promises to yourself, man, who else are you going to keep your promises to? And I shared this with my team the other day. I saw this quote. It was, stop trying to get everyone to agree. When you need everyone to agree, the least agreeable person has all the power. And when it comes to making these phone calls, the idea that, well, somebody's going to be disagreeable. Somebody's going to hang up or tell me off. Okay, yes, they're not your people. So what? There's a lot of other people out there who want to be your people. Pick up the phone for them and just ignore those who don't. So I love that. So the next step, you talked about this, and I absolutely love this because I, as a athlete myself in my past life and just in general, I have routines before I do things. I have a routine, by the way, whenever I go to do this. Fun fact, I text my wife, say, wish me luck. And she texts me back, good luck, right? Every single time. So, but you talk about routines. Tell me more what you mean by that.
So first, I want to drop something in here really quick because you talk about your routine before you do this. So do I. I literally just posted on Instagram. I sprayed cologne on me. You guys can't smell me, right? Like, you can't smell me. My wife can. My kids can.
It's a wonderful thing.
But the reality is why? Because it releases something in me, right? That heightens me up. That creates this this dopamine hit that allows me to have a higher energy. And so that's just a little bit of routine before I even get on a virtual call. So what do we do before we get on a call with our dials? And so I had an interview with a friend of mine. His name is Heath Evans. And so, on my podcast, and he played with the Patriots and he played with the Saints. So Drew Brees as a quarterback and a Tom Brady. We all know Tom Brady, right? Whether you like sports or don't, he's the GOAT. 7 rings. Well, before he had 7 Super Bowl rings, he came out in the 6th round. He wasn't the best out there. So I said, dude, how did Tom Brady, not having the best team and not having the best attributes on paper, win so many Super Bowls? How do you win so many? He says, real simple. He said, it's what he did prior to the game that made him so successful in the game. So I started thinking about real estate agents. What do we do before we get on the calls? That's really the thing that's stopping us from really converting at a high level. And so we came up with these 5 W's to win the game before it starts. So W number 1 is figure out what you want. Now, this seems simple, right? But I'm just going to play a scenario with everybody. When was the last time you bought a car? Now think about when you were buying that car, did you see more or less of those cars on the road? Well, you saw more, right? Now, it wasn't a coincidence. What happened was you activated a part of our brain called the reticulating activating system, RAS, which allows us to start to focus on things more. You literally flip the switch in your brain saying, I want this car. And you started seeing more of them. So how do we do this in our real estate business before dials? Instead of saying I need to call for 60 minutes, because all your brain is going to see success is 60 minutes. It's I'm going to set 2 appointments. So now your brain finds ways to ask better questions to therefore get better results. So activating that RAS to figure out the what. Next is the why. I'm a big believer in deep why, but I'm also a big believer that a deep why won't get the job done every single day when we need to just put in the work when we don't want to. So we have a 12-week year, and that 12-week year, we have a why with it. And the next 12 weeks, what do you want and why do you want it? Have that in front of you. Because when you collapse the time of what you want and why you want it, you'll create more urgency into your activity. Okay. The next one is going to be wow. And what I mean by this is what is your energy like? You know, there's a guy named Ray Lewis who played in the NFL, and that man, when he walked out of the tunnel, he did his little shimmy, and this little shimmy threw the grass up, and he roared, and everybody, their energy uplifted. How did one man do that? Well, strategically, he did it. So what are you doing to get your energy right? Are you standing up, right? Are you going ahead and listening to some good music? Are you praying? Are you getting grounded? What is it that gets your energy to the level that you need to get to have somebody want to talk to you? And by the way, energy is not just about volume. I'm originally from Jersey. I'm Italian. I'm loud. That's just the way I am. But it's about tonality. Think about the best storytellers. They take you through this journey of this story. And they drop these eaves and these valleys of their conversation. They grab your attention. Are you doing that? And if you're sitting down making calls and someone said no to you, you start to slouch. They hung up, they start to slouch. So now you're actually crunching down on a thing that creates the best tonality, which is your diaphragm. So get the best energy, stand up when you make calls. The next one is going ahead and figuring out the aspect of winning. See, when I say winning, a lot of us think about just the success that we have. When I say winning, I mean confidence. When I say confidence, I mean role play. So very quick again about my man, Heath Evans. I said, okay, what else? Tell me more about Tom Brady, right? Give me all the nuggets. And he said, John, he practices better than anybody. He practices more than anybody. And if you look out at the greats, right, the Michael Jordans, the Derek Jeters, the Kobe Bryants, all of them talk about it. Like when you're at the bar, I'm in the gym, right? Like when you're sleeping, I'm in the gym. It's a rep after rep after rep. So then it got me thinking about real estate agents. And so I just want everybody on this call right now, I'm going to take you this path really quick. To think about how many times you actually practice your scripts. Just think about it. And you guys could write it in the chat if you want. Is it 0 days up to 7 days? Write it in the chat if you can. I want to know 0 to 7 days. How many days a week are you practicing the thing that is your livelihood, the thing that is your business? So now I want you to think about this, right? I have 2 beautiful kids, a 7 and a 2-year-old. And I want you to think about your kids, if you have kids or when you have kids. Let's say they want to play football. Let's just say they're in high school right now. What are we going to tell that kid to do? Right? We're going to tell the kid he's got to practice. So he practices, makes it to a D1 school. Hopefully for me, it's the Florida Gators. We need some help over there. Okay. And he gets himself to D1. He's like, Mom, Dad, I made it. What do I do? We're going to say, practice. Okay. So he practices. Then he gets drafted to the NFL. A lot of boos. I'm going to hear a lot of boos on the chat. I know it. But to my favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys. All right.
Oh, I'm a Texan and I don't even support that. But go ahead.
A lot of people just jumped off this live right now. But whatever it might be, now he gets there, and what do we say? To be the best, son, you gotta practice. So hear me, guys. If you take anything from my session, if we're gonna tell our kids to be the best at what they want to be the best at, sports, academics, dancing, singing, whatever it might be, you need to practice. You need to put in the work. But yet mom and dad on this call right now just told us that they are practicing 0, 1, maybe 2 times a week in their business. So how can you ask your kids to hold themselves to a standard that you're not willing to do for yourself? That has to change. And once you start to raise your standards, you start to raise your results. So practicing, my favorite quote is, you want to increase your pay, increase your role play. And those are the W's to really win the game before it starts.
Well, so let's talk about the role play, because you have the next was opening line. And I think this is what really intimidates a lot of people is I don't know what to say. So can we talk about the opening line?
Yes. And what I want to preface is this. Concept remains the same in everything we do. What do I mean by this? Seller leads, there's multiple, right? You have home valuation, you got FSBO, you got expired, you got circle prospect, all these different types of seller leads. Then you have buyer leads. Concept remains the same in that fact of which we're going to walk through here in a minute. Do some of the words change, vocabulary change? Yeah, absolutely. But concept remains the same. This is throughout. So we're getting majority of our objections from the opening line. right? We've done studies where it's over 70% of the objections come because your opening line is not dialed in, you sound scared, and you're not asking the right question. So if we know 70% of our objections are coming from the opening line, we got to get really good. And so what we use, right, is a very curious, very casual type of opening line, but we don't step on landmines. If you're saying, hey, is this Bryon? Immediately stop that. Why? Because 50-50 chance you're going to step on that landmine. He's like, no, it's not Bryon. Even if you go through the opening line and you said his first name, remember the human brain, we don't like to be sold, but we love to buy. So if we feel like we're going to be sold, we immediately back out. When we hear our name, boom, we're going to try to back out of it, right? And so that's the first thing. We don't want to say the name. We also want to just, once again, open it up for a very easy question. So it sounds like this. Make sure you guys got your pen and paper. Hey, so first, once again, when I say, hey, I'm not saying, how's it going? Okay. Just listen to it, because I say how it's going, right? Hey, how's it going? Immediately, that's a 50-50 chance. Just want to throw that out there, right? Yeah. Hey, this is John with the home search site. So I'm taking a look at some homes over in Destin. So I'm just curious, are you looking to make a move in the next few months, or are you just browsing? I'm going to say it again because that's the jab, and I'm going to give you the right hook in a second, right? We're going to tee them up. Hey, this is John with the home search site. I noticed you were taking a look at some homes in Destin. So just give me a call, see if you're, looking to make a move in the next few months, or are you just browsing? We know the majority of their objection is going to be what, guys? Just browsing. When we give them that objection, where does their wall then go? Drops. Yeah, I'm just browsing, man. We were just on the site looking. Now here's the right hook. Awesome. That's exactly what we have the site set up for. Hey, well, I got you. What's prompting you to browse? The curiosity, right? The I'm dropping the uhs in there very purposefully. So just browsing. Hey, great, man. That's exactly what the site is there for. Hey, well, while I have you, what's prompting you to browse? And so that opening line, it's a 1-2 basically, right? And so you set them up, you say just browsing, their wall comes down, you'll hear it in their tonality. We are just browsing. Then we come in and we hit them with that second part.
Got it. Love that. All right. I want to stay on this. The next one in yours is asking whys, and you made this great point about making sure that you really kind of get curious about their answers. Can you talk just briefly about that? Because I want to go over to the objections piece.
Absolutely. So we definitely want to get to the objection of interest rates, but first we got to get to the nuts and bolts. We keep talking about the NAR lawsuit, everything that's happening. And guys, it's never been more important than it is in today's market to add true value, right? To truly add value. And the way you do that is not by surface questions. How many bedroom? 3. How many bath? We got to get deep. And so we use the method of 3 whys for every what. But the way we do it, there's a conversation flow, right? So it would sound like this. If you guys have your piece of paper, write down why question, right? So you write down what question followed by a why question. And then this is the bread and butter right here. You listen to understand, not to respond. You extract information. You build a conversation. Then you ask another why question. So it might sound something like this, right? Let's say Bryon says, looking for 4 bedrooms. Awesome. So tell me a little bit more about why 4 bedrooms. He says he's got 2 kids. They have 2 bedrooms right now. They're really crammed over there. I then extract information. I talk about his kids. That's awesome. I got 2. How old are yours? Going through that. But then I don't leave. This is where most agents leave. This is then where I come in. So, man, you got 2 bedrooms now. I can see, obviously, 4 is going to open things up. So what would that do for you to have an extra 2 bedrooms in your home? And now I'm listening for the key, guys. Emotion. Write this down. Emotion creates motion. So that's what we're trying to get to. And you don't get that on the first why. You know why? Because the first why is always a lie. We need 4 bedrooms, first why. Second why is probably going to be, we just, we got kids have to have their own space. Third why, because I'm tired of the kids fighting each other and not having their own space. And, the environment is crazy right now. And there's a lot of stress. That's the emotion. Yeah. So that's right there is going to be that conversation flow to really get 3 whys deep.
That's awesome. All right. Real quickly, I want to get to the objection. So interest rates, we talked about this, and this is a big thing that's holding some people back, rate lock, whatever. How do you deal with this?
Yeah. So first thing is we never agree with them, guys. Never agree. And secondly, stop proving your point before you prove your value. Stop proving your point before you prove your value. I get it. There's multiple ways to go ahead and help them, from, rate buy downs to seller concession, all these things. But right now is not the time, right? So simply when they say, hey, interest rates, hey, look, I get it. I'm not saying I agree. I'm saying I understand. Look, I get it. Let's just say interest rates were exactly where they needed to be for you. And let's just put them to the side for a second. Pause. So what had you start looking in the first place? Right? And I'm taking my step back. Hey, look, I get it. Why don't we do this, right? Let's just say interest rates were exactly where you needed them to be. So let's just put them to the side for a second. I'm curious, what had you start looking in the first place? And then they're going to talk. And then I love this line. Look, man, I'm not going to ask you to buy a house tomorrow. It's got to make financial sense for you. I just want to make sure you got the right person with the right strategy for the right time. Does that work for you? And that was the clarity close that is absolutely crushing it for all of our agents.
And the thing of it is they don't want a rate. They want a house that they can afford. Right. And so I love that you're sidestepping that all together and just focusing on what's really, truly important for them. All right. We got one more minute. Can you quickly talk about the closing? Because I love that too. Yeah,
absolutely. So a lot of us have great conversations, but we're scared to ask for the business. And so what we tell all of our agents is, look, keep it simple. Everything is the same. Buyer, sellers. This is how you set it up. So you got their value by getting their why, right? Now it's like the next step in the process. The next step in the process is always your line. And the reason why we say that is because when we are practicing it, when your brain sees the opportunity to ask, it's not confused on how to ask for the business. It knows already because you've trained it. Very simple. Hey, next step in the process, it's super simple. We just want to make sure that we could bring you kind of our strategy and what we could do for you. But I also would love to bring you some hand-picked homes that might make sense for you. So what works better for you, Tuesday or maybe Thursday?
Yeah.
Right. But the next step in the process, and it's super simple, and that casual close, and then asking this day or that day, right? A lot of us know about that, but it's how we enter that, which is the most powerful part.
And I just want to mention this too, because this was such a piece of gold. What you said was in the conversation, you're going to send them the calendar invite and you're going to tell them, hey, hang out on the phone while I do this. And this getting them to accept you were sharing with us just makes it so much more likely that they're actually going to maintain that appointment, which I thought was just such a critical thing.
They have to raise their hand, right? We love appointments that are set, but I love appointments that are kept way more. So it goes something like this really quick, guys. So instead of just sending in a calendar invite, you ask, hey, do you use a calendar to run your day? Yes, I do. Hey, what's the best email? Even if you have one, got to get them to say it. johnmarrone@gmail.com. Got them to say it twice. Awesome. Quick favor. When I send this over, can you just hit accept? Hit accept so that it pops up on our calendars. Oh yeah, absolutely. 3 yeses. It drives the chances of them showing up tremendously.
I love that. John, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming on, sharing your hard-won wisdom with us. Thank you. Frank, back over to you, my friend, and happy Friday to you all.